SoccerBeat, what?
Hi guys and welcome, and it's a good evening. It's a Bafana evening. Welcome to Coach Farouk Khan, and I've got Cheezboy back. Cheez, you've been ill. Good to see you looking fit and strong and healthy, my brother.
I'm back. Hey, this flu had got me down, Peter. I mean, I was missing you guys. I wanted to be with Coach Farouk. You know, I've been just looking. I'm like, no, tonight's my chance.
Well, I tell you what, we're feeling lucky. And guys, don't forget to register with Betway and use the code SoccerBeat to get 25 Rand extra bet. And the way Bafana's playing, bet on Bafana. Okay, guys, I am excited. I was really impressed with Bafana's performance, especially in the second half. Coach, how would you sum up the performance in a few words? How would you sum it up if you were sitting on that bench and you walked into that dressing room, if you're Hugo Broos right now and they're sitting there, guys elated, what's your first 5 words?
Well, firstly, I think it was a brilliant performance. It was a tactical masterclass from Broos. He's changed his midfield around with Ogas coming in, Mbata, and I think that was just the right balance that was needed, Peter. And that balance really augured well for the team. Going forward, we had our fullbacks at first, Basadin sitting back a little bit, but later on, you know, coming to the party, Mudao being the more offensive. So I think the balance was perfect. And I think on the night, when you get the balance right and you see the team spirit, then you already have 2 very important ingredients, you know, moving forward.
Yeah, I think, and Cheez, you can talk to team spirit. You know, I'm sure you know a lot of these players as well. If you look at, we don't know much about Benin, but if you go and look at if you go on Wiki and look at their players, I can tell you right now, 9 in that starting 11 and a whole lot on the bench, all play in Europe in decent leagues, decent teams, some in Eastern Europe and so on, a couple goalkeeper from South Africa. They know the game. These boys can play, and they're playing for the same target as us. They at the top, they're with us, so they're as motivated. Team spirit, we got everybody's local except for our centre back and obviously Percy. That team spirit, have you heard anything about it? Do you know anything about it?
Yeah, actually a lot, because it's great to see players that come from different clubs get into the national team, and there's no egos. You know, there's no any player that thinks they are better. I think it's always a case of pushing one another. You know, players have been given opportunities and they've been delivering. You know, I mean, it's a different starting lineup. You know, like Coach Farouk said, I was amazed as well, Coach, when I'm seeing Mbata and thinking that Obas in that central midfield. I'm thinking, oh, what's the coach thinking? You know, but obviously it just shows the depth that we have in our squad. You know, and the belief from the other players, because every time we scored the goal, you know, everybody went to the corner flag. You know, that just shows the harmony in the team. And I think with this spirit that they have, we're really going to go far.
Yeah. Another point I want to mention is that obviously the cloud hanging over the head of the team before the game with Mokoena, with the yellow card situation, which we're not going to get into now because obviously it's a blunder by SAFA and the team manager, whoever is to blame, and it's unacceptable and it could cost us 3 points, but hopefully that doesn't happen. So we won't go into that discussion today. I'm going to do a show on it tomorrow. But I think that one player that impressed me today, considering his performance against Lesotho, was Percy Tau. Against Lesotho, I wasn't impressed with his performance. I found he was a bit lost. I gave the ball away and missed chances. But he played a very difficult role here, Coach. He had to make certain he was closing down space, even from a defensive point of view when they got the ball. I don't think people realize it. And then he was made himself available whenever we got the ball. So I felt he was an integral part of the success of how we played first half and second half. But again, you're the coach. What did you think of Percy and his performance?
Well, I think his work rate speaks volumes, Peter. And I mean, like you're right in saying, he's a box-to-box player. He's also a player that's technically gifted. He makes great decisions. But I think in saying that, I think also we must take into account that Apollos, when he came on, he showed some real fire. You know, it was 2 substitutes that engineered that second goal. Look at Jayden Adams as well. I mean, phenomenal. I mean, you know, when you look at the team at first and you look at the team overall, you say, look, some of the guys are getting a bit over the hill. When I say over the hill, you've got Williams at 34, you've got Mudao at 31, and then you say, but now with these younger guys coming in, it gives you that confidence to say our team is not really, you know, average age is not that high with the youngsters coming in. Because, you know, you pointed out something the other day and I thought about it. I'm not yet convinced about the centre-back pairing. They weren't made to work tonight. They had one Benin player to mark. And in all fairness, let's look ahead now. Let's look further ahead. We're not going to come up against a Benin in the World Cup. You know, so as much as we say there's a year to go, we need to ensure that we find a solution there, because you look at CBC, a little bit short for the type of competition he's going to come up. He was beaten once or twice in the air. You know, if they play with 2 out and out or maybe 3 attackers tonight, we would have tested, and that's what I want to see. And hopefully, you know, we're going to see some friendlies against solid opposition. I want us to be tested so that we're well prepared when we go into the World Cup. I don't want to see us go there and come back after the first round. And I think with Broos, we got a great coach. We got some excellent young players. You look at Rele, for example, a player with a bright future, brilliant kid. You know, when you look at Adams coming in. So I'm actually very excited, but I don't want to become complacent, because when you're winning games like we have, the first thing I do as a coach, I become worried. Because now I'm saying to myself, where can I take this team to the next time out? Because it's not going to get easier as we get closer to that prize of getting to the World Cup. So I want to be realistic and say we need to get at least a little bit more depth in that defensive pairing. Mudau, okay, fine, but Basadine as well, decent defenders. But obviously, from now until next year, maybe, who knows, we could unearth a few more of those diamonds.
Correct. So that's a good point. Cheese, you weren't on the show with us for the Lesotho game. It was Sepa, and I brought the point up that I'm a little concerned about the 2 centre backs. And if you remember in the African Cup of Nations, I thought our back four was superb. And just remember, our 2 centre backs were big, tough guys. Kakana, who's still around, but he's 31, as Coach mentions, another old player. And Mvala was, I thought, our player of the tournament, along with Satoli in the middle of the park. Also a big, tough guy. And, you know, I'm really impressed how well, despite their lack of physicality, the 2 centre backs did today. But as you say, Coach, I think Hugo Broos got his tactics right. I think their coach, by the way, they're both in 71 years of age. So the coach, the Mandela coaches, the one showed his youthful thinking, but Ruhr, the German, definitely didn't. I mean, I thought they should have pushed big boys up front, and they could have even gone long and really tested us in the end. They could have given us something to concern about, but they didn't really. But geez, let's look in at the centre back pair. We'll come back to the game. They did well, as Farouk says, but who else is there who can give that us physicality? Because it's the physical game. People think Europe's not physical. It is very physical. It's a tough game. Who were you doing well in Africa? Who do you see from coming through youngsters that could challenge these two?
Yeah, I think Coach Farouk said it well. You know, I think we were a bit doubtful. You know, even with the centre pairing, I'm also not sure. Still need to be tested. You know, like Coach said, as an attacker, you know, I see those gaps. I see where Benin could have maybe tried go with 2 up front, go with 3 now and then, and try and test them. You know, because even with the build up, you know, they're not so sure. Yes, we never had a team that really pressed us high and really where we could really see, oh, can we play out? You know, when we are really under pressure. It was all easy. It was even easier for our central midfielders in terms of the build-up. You really never saw much of that. And I think even Ronan could have had an iced coffee while the game was on, you know. So we still need more tests. And I also believe that, you know, yes, we have other youngsters coming up. We have Mbokasi who's slowly, obviously still young, you know, but he's one for the future. We have the Kakana. We have Toby Mvala, who's obviously struggling with game time, you know. I think that's the 4 that I believe that maybe, you know, going into the World Cup, we'll probably have the first nod from the coach, you know. But what I loved is that also the flexibility of the players in the squad, you know, players alternating positions as well. You see, we had a Mudau and a Morena on the one side, you know, fantastic. I think the relationship there was very solid, you know. We just need to sort out that central pairing because, once we face the big boys, like Coach said, Isiakala, it's gonna be fire, you know. So, can't wait for the friendly games to come.
Yeah, but let's not take any away from them. They weren't tested, but they still did well. They kept a clean sheet and they looked nice and solid. We're going to take a short break. After the break, I want to bring up a point here that I think has transformed Bafana, and what I think we can basically say, job done on a very important aspect of Bafana's progress, and I think it's an incredible foundation. We'll discuss it straight after the break.
Peter, before you know me, Peter, before you go, I want to give credit to Lyle. Forsler was working so hard today. I don't know if any other, you know, the people that are watching the game, I think he deserved that goal. You could see that he wanted to score. He was making those runs off the ball, getting to that near post, not getting the ball on time, you know, but he hung in there. You know, Percy also makes those runs. You know, I think credit should go to the attackers as well. As much as you want them to score the goals, but also the work they've been doing around the ball and off the ball. I think Lyle was fantastic today. From the performance we saw against Lesotho, a lot of guys, you know, like is he up to it? He looks a little bit heavy, you know, but today he really showed up. Or is it maybe because we were playing away? Because you know, at home, coach, hey, it's not easy, eh?
But listen, coach. Sorry, coach. Coach will tell you uh, when you get your fullback going so far forward, what he needs, and a lot of strikers don't do it. You need a striker to make a run to that near post. And that's what Lyle's run was, to the near post, and a bit of luck because he was there. You know, it wasn't great contact, and the pass wasn't very hard as well. But when you run to near post, anything can happen. That ball, if there was another striker following up, it could have come out, and the guy could have followed up. There wasn't one following up, but we deserved that goal. Fantastic run down the right, and you left by Basadin, and you're quite right, Cheese. You want your strikers making near post run, and you want your second striker or your late midfielder making a far post run. So it was a top class run by Lyle. And strong.
Just not the run. Just not the run. If you look at the touch, you know, it's easy when you see it and you don't realize the amount of creativity that Foster had to use. In fact, he had to have the most delicate of touches. If you look at it at first glance, you think the goalkeeper made a meal of it. But just that slightest of touches, it wrong-foot the keeper to an extent he had no option. Had he gone for a shot, I think the keeper could have blocked it. But what he did was, he deflected the shot. And that was so intelligent. And it just shows his predator instinct in the box, and that is why I think the coach kept faith with him. I mean, on the performance we saw, you know, it will be a case of in making a change and bringing in Ikram Reyners, but he stuck with the striker, knowing that this guy is not playing at Burnley for nothing. You know, he's playing against. I mean, we know the quality of the league that Foster is playing in. It's no walk in the park. It's a solid league.
Yeah. Correct. Well, as I said, as strikers, you've got to make near post runs, and we don't see enough near post runs in the PSL. I'm going to take a short break, and then we're going to talk about what I believe has been an enormous change in Bafana Bafana and is our foundation for going forward.
How would you like to win a little something extra just for joining the best in the game? For a limited time, we are teaming up with Betway and giving all of you access to a SoccerBeat exclusive. If you join Betway using the sign-up code SoccerBeat, now in March, you get 25 Rand extra bet. That's right. It's time to get way more out of every bet. Standard T's and C's apply.
Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. I've got Cheese and Coach Farouk with me. And also, don't forget, go on the Betway site, press the SoccerBeat tab, and get yourself 25 Rand extra bet. Now, let's think about this seriously. This game, I think, highlights the transformation of Bafana Bafana under Hugo Broos. When he joined us, we were literally in disarray. We struggled at the start. If anybody told me that we're in 2025, in March 2025, that we would have come third in the AFCON and we'd be top of the log by 5 points if we keep our 3 points in a World Cup qualifiers and have qualified for the next AFCON, I would have gone, no chance. But he's transformed this team. And where I think he's really transformed this team, in the past, we often played disarray football. In other words, almost like a team got together and we attacked, but we had holes at the back, or we were defended and made mistakes at the back. It always to me looked like we played in patches and we were holding on to win a game. And I'm not being too critical. I'm talking about the period prior to Hugo Broos in his earlier period. Obviously, we had great teams in the past, which we don't have to go into right now. But what he's done, he's taken, with all due respect, a team not made of players playing in the top leagues overseas, because we don't have them. He's taken local players, our best local players, put in a few guys like Satoli from overseas and Ngizani, the centre back now. But he's molded us into a club kind of national team that is incredibly difficult to beat, Farouk. We are not easy to beat. And Farouk, you know, as a coach, surely that's the first thing you look at. Make certain your team is difficult to beat, because we've got skillful players to do the attacking part. But we're a unit now. And a coach, I mean, tell the public out there, South Africa, how difficult is that to make happen in a team made up of local players when we generally play in Africa against teams made up of overseas-based players?
Well, I'm going to start off by saying it takes a character, and his character is one of honesty, integrity, and I'm going to tell you why I say this. When he took charge of this team, he didn't try to buy faces. He selected his bulk of his team from Sundowns, who have been doing extremely well on the continent. We know how well they've done under Coach Rulani, under Coach Pizzo, and that was the nucleus of his team. You know, for a coach to do that in the current climate, when you have two of the biggest clubs that expect their players to be selected for Bafana, and you find him taking, I think it was 7 of them that played. They beat Morocco in the 16 group of 16. They went on to beat Cape Verde. There was no walkover, and then eventually they lost to Nigeria in the quarterfinals. So that in itself says a lot about the man. And then he made a statement lately. There's a statement he made lately, and I'm going to touch on your point on your question, but I want to first mention this, Peter. He said that when he looks at our national youth teams, he hasn't seen a difference since he's come to this country. They don't qualify for big tournaments, and when they do, they get knocked out very early. So what he was alluding to is, as national coach, I'm looking at what is the feeder coming through, because we need to have consistency from your under-17s to your under-20s to your under-23s in Bafana, because when that happens, a coach like Broos can now blood in those players very easily. So he got the I would say, he got the mentality of his players right. He made them understand nobody's guaranteed the shirt. I mean, look at Reyners. Reyners was itching to play today. But in the process, he was celebrating with Foster because he realized this is a team thing. You know, when you have players, and Cheez will tell you, as a player, you want to play. But when you see the guy ahead of you playing and he does well, you got to you have to celebrate with him, because you don't want to seem to be somebody that is now upset that somebody else has the shirt. You know you must earn that shirt. And that is what he's done. He's made everybody that is chosen, Peter, earn the shirt. And he's never hold back. He's never hold punches with SAFA. He's told SAFA exactly how he feels. He's brought in his technical team. He lost his initial guy, but he's brought in Hellman. And I think he's really redefined Hellman. Hellman has become so much more mature. We know Hellman is very much an introvert, but he's now not only developed a team of players, he's done so with Hellman, he's done so with the goalkeeper. He reminds me of Clive Barker. If you look at him and you look at Clive Barker, you're looking at two people that know how to get the best out of the players. You know, Clive used to kiss the guys and hug them. You can see this is a player's coach, but at the same time, he's technically astute.
Without a doubt. Cheez, so a couple of final points. What stood out for you the most against this team? What stood out the most for you? What is your takeouts that you'd like to share with the viewers out there? But the specific takeouts from either a player point of view or the overall team performance point of view.
Yeah, I think overall team performance. I think it showed adaptability. It showed the depth in the squad in terms of the rotation of the players coming in. I think that's what stood out for me, because I mean, we've had a Percy that's been out, but didn't take really long for them to start to gel with the guys, or so-called the core of the team that has been there. And the French players that really never played from the last AFCON and upcoming games, your Mbatas, your Obas, they get in the game. A player like Basadine Fawaz, who's playing for Estelis, Apollos, it shows that the coach has got faith in these players. And also, what I also want to emphasize is what Coach Farouk said. I mean, the coach fights for his players. At some stage, you'll hear him in the media, you know what, I need my national team players to be playing, because sometimes these players get benched and it affects our national team, and that's just a shout out in terms of him trying to get support from the coaches out there in terms of, yes, sometimes you can rotate, but at least he needs to have those minutes, because when I need him here, he needs to be on top of his game, because that's just quality players that we have in our country. So that's what just stood out for me, adaptability, and also the changing of tactics, because you don't want to be stuck in playing the same formation all over and over, doing the same thing. I think that just stood out for me tonight.
What Cheez is saying there, Peter, what I want to allude to is this coach hasn't tried to change our natural style of playing. He encourages players to play with the ball, to use their skill when they need to. So, he's not trying to change the identity of players. And I think for too long, we've had coaches that wanted players to play according to a certain way and a certain template. He gives them the freedom to express themselves, but in a very structured, well-organized, tactical plan. So I think that is really something that we must appreciate. But again, then again, look where he comes from. He comes from Belgium, where they promote this ethos of players having to express themselves. We've seen, okay, we know now they're going through a bad patch because the likes of the players that they've had have come to an age where they haven't really refreshed the team. You know, Lukaku, De Bruyne, they're getting there. But this is where Belgium, over a short period, Peter, changed the world of football by introducing the proper development structures, by introducing the proper philosophy, and they've seen the value. So I think when Hugo Broos has come here, he's exported that to us, and it seems to be working perfect.
So you know what, Farouk, before I ask you my final question, I think you've hit on something. When Hugo Broos retires from coaching the national team, I think SAFA should make him head of South African technical football and bring in coaches like yourself in, and we start developing our youth teams from the under-17s, under-19s, under-23s, and so on. That we've got that because he's got it right. And before I ask you the final question, I think where we both we're using the word alluding to is that he hasn't stifled our natural attacking spirit. What he's done is structured us in a way that we are difficult to beat, but we're quick to attack. And we can also attack at our pace, slow it down when we want to. And those are our strengths. And we play with wide men because we're very good at getting past players. And he plays with midfielders who have got great skills going forward, but he's improved us defensively as well as a unit. And I think that's created a foundation. And that's the basis of my next question. He has proved that our team can compete and possibly even win an AFCON. There's no doubt about it. The question is, when do we start playing decent to good European teams to prepare us for, because 26 is around the corner. When do we start doing that? Last time we did it, we played France. We got really a real hiding. When do you think we should start playing these kind of games? And because, or is it going to interfere with our AFCON? And do we only do it after the AFCON? So what would do we do it before the AFCON or after the AFCON?
We're going to do it like yesterday, Peter, to be fair. I mean, you look at a year from now is nothing in football. You look at the amount of football currently, what players are playing for club and for country. It's a lot of football. I think strategically, you've got to plan international friendlies depending on the strength. Obviously, from the less fancy to the more fancy teams ultimately when you get into the World Cup. But in saying that, we have the richest vein of raw talent in the world. I studied in Brazil, Peter. And when I compared pound for pound our under-10s, under-12s, they took me to see the under-10s. And I tell you, I said to them, pound for pound, we'll beat you guys. If I pick up a team and I put together a group of 10-year-olds from the KC and said, I'll beat you. They said, yes. But there's a difference between what we do from 8 or 9 or 10 years to the time he turns 18 to what you do. And I had to just shake my head and agree because we don't do enough. So coming to Bafana needs from now, Peter, I know we're going to give them at least 2 months. The league is going to have to stop like we did with the AFCON, I think 2 or 3 months before the time to give them time to prepare and go into camp. But pre that, this is where periodization comes in, Peter. The periodization that Hugo Broos has used was, I'm going to build a team to get to the African Cup of Nations, and I'm going to try and get to the final. He went to the quarters. Brilliant. More than we ever expected. Against a team like Morocco, I think that said a lot. Now, what's the next step? My next step is I qualified for AFCON and I qualified for the World Cup. He's very close to qualifying now for the World Cup. Yeah. And I think, obviously, with AFCON, we'll get there and we'll do absolutely well. So now we got to afford him those important friendlies during the FIFA breaks. We need to get strong opposition to come and play so that we can measure ourselves. Like we alluded to earlier on Cheezboy, now our central pairing is going to be tested. Our back four is going to be tested. Our midfield is going to be tested. Now we can see what needs to be done. Not that we're going to change it, because this group of players have shown that they are very capable of taking us, to great heights. But in saying that, we need at least sufficient time next year, June, July, so that when we go to that World Cup, I want to be confident that we go through the first round, which we've never done.
Yeah. 100%. Farouk, we actually played Nigeria in the semi-finals, but that's another story. Guys, please don't forget to subscribe. I should have asked you at the start, so now that I'm asking you now, make a friend subscribe as well. And also get on the Betway site, use the SoccerBeat tab and get yourself 25 Rand. Farouk, thanks very much. I'll see you for the Kaizer Chiefs game. Cheese, you got no Orlando Pirates game. I'm sure I'll see you in another show this week. Thanks, guys. Love you guys. Cheers.
Cheers.
SoccerBeat,